Hi, I'm Faith Pinot from LA Times Studios in Washington, D.C. Here's some of today's top stories from the Los Angeles Times. California's November 4th special election is just a week away, with voters already heading to the polls to vote on Proposition 50. The measure proposed by Governor Gavin Newsom would allow the state to redraw its congressional maps. According to Sema Mehta, the campaign has already pulled in more than $114 million, over 4 times what opponents have raised. Prop 50 would scrap California's independent redistricting commission and let lawmakers draw new districts. Normally, that happens only every 10 years, giving Democrats a rare mid-decade chance to boost their seats in Congress. Newsom says it's about fighting back against Republican states who are also redrawing their maps. Still, opponents call it a power grab that could destroy California's gold standard system.
We're not just identifying a problem, we're actually trying to solve a problem. And it's a problem of their making. This was not a press conference we intended to have. This is not an action the legislature intended to advance. This is not an election we expected to be holding on November 4th. But they shot the first bullet. They took an action in Texas and we're responding to it. And I continue to make this point. We're no longer hand-wringing in debating whether or not we should play hardball in response. It's how now.
So far, more than 4 million ballots have already been returned, with Democrats outpacing Republicans 51% to 28%. Meanwhile, early voting sites opened Saturday in 29 counties across California, giving voters more time to cast their ballots. The Justice Department says it plans to monitor polling places in 5 California counties, a move that Newsom calls voter intimidation, claiming Trump's administration is trying to suppress turnout ahead of next week's election. And the U.S. military launched 3 deadly strikes in the Eastern Pacific Monday, targeting boats suspected of smuggling drugs. According to reporters, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made the announcement on social media Tuesday, saying 14 people were killed and 1 survivor was rescued. It's the first time multiple strikes have been carried out in a single day, part of an escalating campaign against drug trafficking that began in September. Hegseth released video of the attacks, in which 2 high-speed boats can be seen bursting into flames, before showing a 3rd strike against 2 stationary boats along a known drug route. Mexican authorities are handling the survivors' rescue, but it's unclear if that person will remain in their custody or be turned over to the U.S. Since September, the Pentagon has carried out 13 strikes, with the death toll reaching at least 57 people. And California's top health officials are sounding the alarm, warning that massive federal funding cuts could devastate millions of families across the state. According to Katie King, experts said Monday that a new federal law, H.R. 1, will slash billions in Medicaid funding. The cuts are tied to Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, which redistributes safety net funding to tax cuts and ICE. California Healthcare Services Director Michelle Boz said the changes could strip coverage from up to 3 million people across the state and cripple hospitals that are already under stress. The law creates new work requirements for low-income adults on Medicaid. It bans federal funding for abortion providers and slashes funds for emergency care for undocumented immigrants. The ripple effects are already hitting California and comes at a time when rising healthcare costs are at the center of the debate in Washington. As the government shutdown nears the 30-day mark, lawmakers are still at a standstill over healthcare subsidies. The Democrats want the Republicans to pass funding extensions for the Affordable Care Act, but Republicans say the government has to open first. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says the shutdown is about the health of the American people.
Our position as Democrats remain clear in the House and in the Senate. We need to reopen the government, and we need to do that now. We need to find a bipartisan path toward enacting a spending agreement that actually is designed to make life better for the American people, as opposed to hurting everyday Americans. And we need to decisively address the Republican health care crisis. that is crushing people all across the country.
Already, Los Angeles County's health system is freezing hiring and expects to lose $750 million a year. Meanwhile, food banks statewide are preparing for longer lines as CalFresh, California's food assistance program, faces nearly $2 million in cuts. And now Governor Gavin Newsom is fast-tracking state funds to help food banks and Planned Parenthood, especially as the government delays food benefits like SNAP, and thousands of federal workers go without paychecks. As for the healthcare cuts, officials say without a reversal, millions could lose coverage, and California's safety net could collapse under the weight. And a high-speed police chase on the 210 freeway ended in a violent crash Monday afternoon, after the man suspected of shooting a San Bernardino deputy took off on his motorcycle. According to Clara Harder, Deputy Andrew Nunez was shot and killed when he responded to a call of an armed man threatening a woman in Rancho Cucamonga. Nunez was a 6-year veteran of the department and leaves behind a 2-year-old daughter and his pregnant wife. Police still have not identified the suspected shooter, but video shows the man riding through Upland, weaving past drivers and speeding more than 150 miles per hour. The chase ultimately came to an end after an off-duty officer made a legal intervention, hitting the suspect and causing him to crash. The suspect survived the collision and is in stable condition, and prosecutors say charges, including murder of a peace officer, could come within days. And President Trump met with Japanese leaders in Tokyo Tuesday, including Prime Minister Tsunei Takaichi, as part of a broader effort to expand trade and investment between the two countries. The two leaders discussed economic cooperation, energy projects, and U.S.-Japan security ties. Japan's government is expected to invest up to $550 billion in American projects, including $100 billion in nuclear energy initiatives. Trump highlighted the success of his visit and praised Takaichi, signaling strong support for the country's first female leader and the deals that they made together.
And we had a phenomenal day here in Japan with a momentous trade deal. We made a big, beautiful trade deal for both countries. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I think Japan also had their best stock market day ever. So your new prime minister is doing very well. First female, first woman prime minister. And I said, you already hit the highest stock price you've ever hit. So she's very happy. And we spent the whole day together. It was beautiful. And she's great. We went out to the USS George Washington, the SS George Washington. It was really great. The sailors and a lot of others, we had a lot of people, a lot of military people were there, but boy, that was some scene. It was incredible. You wouldn't believe that a ship could hold that many people. But I just want to say that she is a delight, and I think she's going to be a great prime minister, I really do.
The visit also included a stop aboard the USS George Washington, where Trump addressed U.S. troops and highlighted the golden age of U.S.-Japan relations. The president is scheduled to continue his Asia tour in South Korea ahead of a highly anticipated meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. And it was an instant classic at Dodger Stadium Monday night, the kind of World Series game fans will be talking about for years. The Dodgers outlasted the Blue Jays in an 18-inning marathon, tying the record for the longest World Series game ever. And LA Times' Jack Harris was there to catch all 6.5 hours of it. Harris reports that Freddie Freeman was the clear hero, blasting a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 18th to give LA a 6-5 win and a 2-1 series lead. But like Mookie Betts said after the game, this one was the definition of a team effort. Shohei Ohtani went off, 4 hits, 5 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 4 intentional walks. Meanwhile, 25-year-old reliever Will Klein became the unexpected MVP, throwing 4 scoreless innings after 6 hours on the mound. And don't forget Clayton Kershaw, possibly in his final appearance, who escaped a bases-loaded jam in the 12th. It was one of the wildest, most exhausting, and emotional games in World Series history, and the Dodgers ultimately came out on top. Game 4 is set for Tuesday in LA, and you can catch all the action on Fox starting at 5 p.m. local time. That's it for now. To read these stories and more, be sure to subscribe to the LA Times.